lives. Happy Wednesday. So we're almost towards the end of the week. Hopefully you had a chance to, hopefully you did, finish the lessons from yesterday and you had a nice little warm-up of geometry and looking at shapes and sizes and faces and vertices. Today we're going to continue our discussion on different types of shapes. And now today we're going to be naming our shapes based on how many sides there are and then being able to look at a shape and then name it. So two different things today. But all you're going to need again is your math notebook, textbook. You'll need your textbook for later, but just for now you'll need your math notebook and a pencil, and that is about it. And a highlighter as always. Get the date down. Your title is Naming Shapes. Your I can statement today. Put this back here. Sorry. Okay. Your I can statement is I can name shapes based on the number of sides and their vertices. So there's two parts of this lesson we're going to look at, and their vertices. Okay, please highlight that. I will bubble it. Okay, so I can statements. I can name shapes based on the number of sides and their vertices. So we'll do the first one. We'll do this section first. So that's one, and then that's the second one. So that's two different, we're going to do two mini lessons in one lesson. Okay? Can you write that down? And I'm going to erase it just because I want a fresh page when I do this. Okay, so let's do the first part based on the number of sides. And I kind of mentioned it yesterday when I was teaching the lesson, that based on the number of sides, that kind of gives us a hint to how many sides. So if you know the number of sides, then you already know the name of the shape. So we can call these math prefixes. Okay. Now I will post a little picture on our Edmodo folder, which has like just pictures of the different shapes and the different, well, basically kind of what we're writing down, but maybe if you want to cut it out and glue it into your notebook, you can, you don't have to, but just a reference, okay? But this will be a list of all of our prefixes. Okay, so if I have anything that is tri, if I have a shape that starts with tri, that means I have 3 sides, okay? And I'll say 3 sides. Okay, that would be a triangle. 1, 2, 3, right? And if they're all the same, based on I can put it. If I have, let me get maybe different colors going so it stands out. If I have anything that starts with quad, that is 4. I'll say 4 sides, right? So like a quadrant. So if I look at, so now you do this in grade 6 when you look at different quadrants, I'm looking at either 4 quadrants on a scale, but 4, if you see quad means 4. And maybe I'm going to take out sides because it's not always just sides. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, 4 quadrants. If I have something that starts with penta, that is 5, so a pentagon, right? So I can draw over here. If I have anything that has 5 sides, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a pentagon, or 5, okay? Then if I have anything that starts, and we did this one I think yesterday, right? Hexa, we know that's 6. So a shape, I'll do it over here, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a hexagon. Not a really neat one because I'm drawing on a side. Let me do it again. Looks very odd. A little bit better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's why I said I'll post a picture of all of these so you can see clear pictures of each type of shape. Okay, if I've got hepta, that's a shape with 7. If I've got, oh yeah, sorry, I've done that, I've done hepta. If I've got octa, which I mentioned yesterday, that has 8, right? So like an octagon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? If I've got deca, that means 10. And yeah, we'll stop there. That's 10. Okay? So if anywhere I see tri, that means 3 sides. Or just means it's prefixes, right, to help us remember. So that's why you see triangle and pentagon and hexagon and heptagon and octagon and decagon. So these, if you know this, then you kind of know what that shape looks like already. If I know a pentagon, penta means 5, then I know that the shape has 5 sides. The reason we're telling these are like little mini hints, right? So if you're thinking, if I'm saying, oh, I'm having a snack and it's the shape of a pentagon, it's because there's probably 5 sides or something related to it, right? Hexagon means 6, heptagon or hepta means 7, octa, deca, 10. So these are kind of helpful tips and reminders of what the words mean. So then they translate to the sides and the different shapes. Okay, so that's one. That's the first part of the lesson. So copy that down. And then I'm going to erase it, and we're going to move on to the second part of the lesson, which is now naming shapes when I have vertices. Okay? So we've done our math prefixes, which is just hints of what the shape might look like, or how many sides it will have. Now let's look at if I have to name a shape. So let's say the shape is, and maybe they'll just put a quick naming shapes. Okay. So let's say my example is I have a shape that's like this. Maybe it's a triangle like that. Okay, let's already look at some of the attributes of this triangle before we do the work for today. So from yesterday's lesson, I would say, okay, there are how many sides? There are 1, 2, 3. Okay, there are 3 sides. So let's just write this down because why not? There's 3 sides. Okay, how many vertices? Right, this was 1, 2, 3. How many vertices? 1, 2, 3. Okay, I've got 3 vertices. And then, are they all equal? Are they the same length? Are they not? Well, you know what? I think this one is, maybe it's 4 centimeters, and these two are 6 centimeters, right? So that's why I'm going to put this one is on its own, and these two are the same length. So this tells me this is not the same. These two are the same lengths, and that is on its own. So that was from yesterday's lesson. But now let's say today's lesson, I said I gave you this triangle and I labeled every vertex. So let's say this was M, this was I, and this was R. And my kids definitely should know that M-I-R is my last name, Mir. Now, I want to say, well, what is this shape? What is this triangle called, right? So there are 3, I think there's 2 major steps, but 3 tiny ones. So we can say step 1. And you know what? We can make it up as we go. Okay, so if I have this shape, instead of me just saying this shape, we need to have, basically it's like, you know, when you have all of us, right? I have a name, you have a name. I'm not just a person, and we're not just saying, oh, you person, come here. We like to give them names. We have names. Similar to our shapes. We don't want to just say that shape and this shape and that shape. We want to be able, if I had 20 shapes written here, right? And I said, oh, look at that shape. You'll probably think, well, what shape this matters? There's 20 of them. But that's why if we use these 3 steps, we can actually identify specifically which step and which shape we're talking about. So step 1 is we label each vertex with, and this is important, capital letters That's step one. So I'm going to just choose the letters. So like I said, M-I-R. Just 3 letters. Okay. Then we can say step 2 is to name it. So like I said, name the shape. Now, first of all, we already know it's a triangle because there's 3 sides, it has 3 vertices. But if I'm naming this, we would say this triangle, let me get red. This is triangle M-I-R. Literally, you label it as M-I-R. Okay, but that's if I started here, right? It could also be, so that's one option, that's correct. It could also be I-R-M. Okay, that's if I start at I. It could also be R-M-I. Okay, do you see that? As long as you go in order, right? So for example, so let me just recap. You have to just go in order, clockwise or counterclockwise, but you have to go in order. So that would be M-I-R or M-R-I. That was, I think, the one we missed, right? Yeah. M-R-I, because you can go counterclockwise or clockwise. It doesn't matter. You can go right or you can go left, but you have to go in order. And I'll tell you, the next example we'll look at where it can get a little tricky. So if I'm naming the shape, I'm not just saying this is a shape. We can say this is a triangle M-I-R. This triangle is I-R-M. This is a triangle R-M-I, right? Or M-R-I. These are all different. These are all correct. So if I said, you know, if I asked you to name this shape and you said any of these, that would be correct. And if I said, give me all of the ways I can name this shape, there are 4 different ways I can name this shape. Now, triangles are easy because there's no way to mess them up because there's only 3 corners. But let's look at another example where it can get a little tricky. So write this down, and then let's do the other one together. It's an easy thing, and it sounds probably silly because it's like, Miss Lavish, I'm just writing letters down. Yeah, it's an easy thing to do. I'm not saying today's lesson is hard, but you just have to make sure you're going in order. So let's say, let's do, yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, that's a trapezoid. So example number 2 is a trapezoid. Now you have to, remember, look at the steps. So I want to label this. Now it's not, so let's just quickly go over it. How many sides does this have? There's 4 sides, okay. 4 sides. How many vertices? 4 vertices. We know that these 2 are the same, and this is on its own, and this is on its own. So that these 2 are the same length. So this might be 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters. This might be like 4 centimeters, and this would be like 6 centimeters. So those are different lengths. Okay. Now we have to go into our vertex. How many vertices? There's 4, right? We already said that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So step 1. Now we need to label this. Again, I don't want to just say that's trapezoid. Great, we know it's a trapezoid, but it's too unfamiliar. We need to actually label the vertices. So again, choose any 4 letters, and I'm going to choose random ones. So maybe I want to do, let's do F, A, C, and let's do M. Okay, those are random, and again, they don't have to make sense. It could be any letters. Now we need to get into it. Now, what would this be? So what are options? So again, just start from somewhere and then do it. Go in order. So I'm going to start first at M. Okay, I'm going to start at M. Now I can go clockwise or counterclockwise. So I'm going to go clockwise first. So I'm going to go M, F, A, C, because I'm just going this way. Okay. Now what if I start at F? Okay, I'm going to start at F, then comes A, then comes C, then comes M. And then you stop there. You don't keep going. You don't put, that's my other one. What if I start at A? Then comes C, then comes M, then comes F. And now what if I start at C? C, M, F, A. These are all correct. They are all correct because they're in order. Okay? Now I could also go backwards, right? I could start at C and I could go, instead of going this way, I can go around, right? And I'll do maybe a couple more of those. So if I start, let's say we start at M again. I'll do it right next to it so you can see the difference. If I start at M, but instead of going clockwise, I want to go counterclockwise. So M, C, A, F. That is also correct. Okay? What if I start at C, A, F, M? If I start at A, F, M, C, and if I start at, F, M, C, A. My point is, obviously, unless I say, tell me all the ways you can name this shape, you don't have to tell me all of these. You just tell me one, right? So what's one way to name this shape? That would be just one of these, any of these, right? Usually, most commonly, because we're used to looking at a clock that goes clockwise, it's a human natural, it's kind of like, I think it's natural instincts to start at going clockwise, but it's up to you. If you started here or here or here, that's okay. That's what I'm saying. That's why I want to do another example where there's multiple options. Now, what I cannot do, okay? So these are all great. What I cannot do, however, is let's say I want to start at A, okay? Oops. Grab my marker. Let's say I want to start at A. Now remember, the only rule is you have to go in order. Okay, you cannot jump around. That's the only rule. You can go clockwise, counterclockwise, that's fine. You have 8 different options, but you cannot go out of order. So you cannot do this. If I have A, and let's say I go to C, and then let's say I just decided I'm not going to keep going, I'm going to jump to F. And then I'm going to come back to M. You cannot go here, then here, then here. That is not allowed. So that would be wrong, because you did not go in order. As long as you go in counterclockwise or clockwise in order, they're all fine. So that's why we have 8 different ways, but as soon as you jump around, so again, if I start at M, and then I jump to A, then I jump to F, then I jump across to C, those are not, so you can't just make up any letter. You're not just jumbling them together, right? You just have to put them in order. Whether you go right or left is up to you, but as long as it's in order. So it's a small rule, but again, don't forget that, okay? That's about it for today. Let's actually maybe, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, because I've done the triangle and the other shapes. So today I'm going to post textbook questions of basically this. I'll give you a shape, right? I'll give you a shape without letters. And you need to first put the letters in and then try just naming it. And it's easy. It's actually kind of fun. You just label all the vertices, any letter, and then you put as many different, or depending on the question, and to give them a name. And that's why this topic is called naming shapes, right? Instead of just saying this is either a triangle or a square or rectangle, we give them a name, just like we all have names. Okay? So please copy all this down. Sorry if I'm copy this all down, and then go into your Edmodo folder for some practice questions, okay? Which will probably be textbook questions for today. And I'll see you soon. Bye.